All right, you guys. Hello there. Happy Monday, January 13th. Welcome to the team call. And thank you for tuning in if you're live. And thank you for catching the recording if you are doing that as well. So last week, more like a couple weeks ago, I asked specifically, like, what are some of the things that you guys feel like you're struggling with? What are some of the areas in terms of like the vital behaviors that you feel like you just need some, where you needed some encouragement, maybe some more specifically, so that these calls could be most beneficial for you and not just me talking about what I think is important or what I want these to be meaningful for what you're struggling with, and how I can best help the masses. So like last week we talked about inviting, and then as I started talking I realized I should have taken it a step further and asked what specifically about inviting it was that you were struggling with. And so I did that poll in the team thread and asked, like, specifically, what are some of the things that you are struggling with? And was that like who to invite, tracking your invites, following up? But the main one that had the most comments or the most votes on it was the flow of conversation. And which actually kind of surprised me, but then again I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because to me, after doing this for so long, the flow of conversation is actually, I don't want to say the easy part, but once I'm in a flow of conversation, to me, that's like where the fun and the magic kind of happens. But if you aren't inviting consistently and you're not having this flow of conversation consistently, it can be intimidating to have. And I get this like with coaching. Like if somebody randomly is like, yeah, I'm interested in learning more about coaching, I instantly go, oh my gosh, like I need to tell you everything that I love about coaching, that's done for my life, that's done for my team. Like I go into like overload of information. So I know where you're coming from, what you mean when you say that. So flow of conversation, let me just kind of walk you through what I do, and then let me share some tips and some advice to hopefully kind of crank up your inviting confidence muscle. So how my flow goes, and I'm actually going to tweak it a little bit after I listen to a call today. But for the most part, what I do is I invite, right? I send out my 10 to 20, sometimes more invites a day, whatever your sweet spot, your magic numbers. Remember I talked about that last week. I send out those invites. And as soon as somebody says, like right now, it's like, yeah, hey, tell me more about your bar group or whatever. As soon as somebody tells me that, my first response back is, yay, oh my gosh, like I'm so excited to chat more with you. I've done 7 workouts of this program so far, and my butt is literally sore every single day. LOL. In order for me to best see how I can help you, tell me about some health and wellness goals that you have that you'd like to focus on. So right there, I want to get them thinking about what they want. And I want to know what they want, because if I have somebody that comes in, they're like, well, I need to lose 50 pounds. I'm super overweight, but I'm a picky eater. Like I can just tell right away the way that somebody responds back to that question, whether we're going to jive, if they're actually serious, how much thought they put into their answer. Because I'll be honest, the people that are like, yeah, I need to lose 50 pounds. Like if it's just strictly like, I just want to lose weight, I have a really good feeling that what we're just not going to click, and they're just not fully committed. But when I say that and somebody says, I know that I need to eat better, not only for myself, but for my family, I need to get into a good habit, a good routine. Couple things I noticed, they've been watching my stories, because that's stuff that I share and talk about every single day. So they kind of already have an idea of what it is I do. But 2, that means to me that they're already committed in their mind of what they need to change. So regardless, no matter what, I still always ask like what their goals are, what their focus is. Because then the next piece of the conversation is if they're like, I've tried to work out, but I can't get into it. Whatever it is that they're struggling with or that they want to focus on, I tie the next conversation piece into that. And so like, let's say they're like, I just want to get into a good habit of taking care of myself, exercising, eating well, etc. That's what they want to focus on. And lose 20 pounds, tone your tummy. Like everybody says that. I want to lose this and tone up my tummy, but this, and this as a healthy lifestyle. So then I usually say something like, and I honestly, I'll just tell you, I have this all saved in my phone on the shortcut section in my keyboards. So I literally have to type why for that first response. And then the next response is why one. And so, but before I hit send on that, I type in, oh my gosh, I love those. That's so awesome. I definitely think that what we have to offer is going to help you establish those routines. Or I'll say something like, I talk like I was be talking to you right now. Like I would just, whatever it was that they said, I would just relate to. Oh my gosh. And a lot of the times it's something similar to why I started. And so I will just say, oh my gosh, like that's one exact reason why I started was because I knew I needed a healthier lifestyle for me and my family. So tie into something like that. I love your goals. Those are awesome. I love a lot of it. I tend to say is I love that lifestyle focus. I love that mindset focus. So I compliment them on what their goal is, maybe dab into a little bit about how I think will help. But then what's saved in my phone that I send is then, all right, so, and this is where I'm going to tweak it a little bit. Not a lot, but just a little bit. And so I say, all right, so let me tell you, actually, I want to read it exactly because my two that I send are pretty close. Okay. So I would say, so let me tell you, I do 30-minute workouts from home in capital letters or in exclamation points or anywhere with Wi-Fi access. I throw that out there because some people are like, well, I like to go to the gym. I need time away from my kids. I need time away from my home, blah, blah, blah. From home or anywhere with Wi-Fi access and follow a super easy nutrition program with no food cutting. Do you think the same thing like that could work for you? So I end in a question. So I'm telling them, we're going to work out from home. You're going to follow super simple nutrition. Do you think that could work for you? All right. And then most of the time they say, yeah, for sure. Or, yeah, I think so. Something like that. I've never had anybody say, no, that will not work for me. Sometimes then they'll say, yes, can you tell me a little bit more about the pricing? If they do that, then I kind of combine my next two messages. But let's say they respond back and they say, yeah, that sounds great. That sounds good. What I say then is, all right, yes, let's do this. So we're going to set you up with a fitness and nutrition package and accountability group. 1 month of your shakes that I love, and I'm going to be your coach to support you and hold you accountable. How does that sound so far? So what I mean by that I'm going to update these a little bit is that I want to expand on them a little bit more. Plus, I've been doing this for a few months, so I feel like I just need to tweak it to change kind of my voice a little bit in it too. But again, I end in a question. How does that sound so far? Again, then a lot of times they're like, if they have questions, that's where they ask their questions. And so I'm slowly taking the conversation at their pace, but I'm also giving them the information they need in small bite-sized chunks. All right. So I'm not barfing all the information on them like I feel like I want to, but I'm breaking up the conversation. And this is where following up and being on top of that is super important. So as soon as somebody tells me they're interested, I write their name down. Actually, I have it on a Google spreadsheet, and I have the date at the top and I put their name. So like, let's say I invited Erica today, and Erica said, yeah, great, tell me more information. So 113, it would say, I put Erica's name. And then tomorrow when I clear out my inbox, if she responds and we talk again, then I'm going to move her to 114. And then if it turns out to be 115 and she hasn't responded to my tell me about your goals, I'm going to reach back out to her and say, hey, just wanted to see if you saw my message. I know it's super crazy, but do you have any goals you're wanting to focus on? So I follow up again at that 2-day mark. So some of you, I know you're thinking, you're like, oh, well, like if I can't tell them everything at once, how am I going to have, like, this is how you're being a human. Like, this is how you're having a conversation with them by asking their goals, them telling you, you relating to that, and then giving them a bite of, awesome. Well, we're going to do workouts at home and super simple nutrition. Are you in for that? Would that work for you? Then they're like, yeah. And then you tell them a little bit more. All right, so we're going to set you up with, and this is super important too, because some of you are afraid to talk about the price. You're afraid to talk about the package. You're afraid to talk about all that. So you just put it out there. And if then they're like, oh, I don't want to spend any money. Okay, cool. I'll let you know when I run a free group, right? So you're letting them know right away, so there's no surprise. So usually when I end that message, how's that sound so far? Then usually it's like, yeah, great. Okay, let's talk. Like, what are the prices? What are the options? Blah, blah, blah. Or if they say, so sometimes they ask me, and other times it's like, I say, how does that sound so far? And they're like, sounds good. I'm like, and then this is how I respond. Either way, whatever, if they ask for the package options, or if they just say that sounds good, I'm like, perfect. I have the different package options. Would you like me to email it to you or just send it here? That's what I say. And then sometimes, like, since Bar Blend is on right now and it's $20 off, sometimes I'll throw in like, PS, all the packs are $20 off right now, or they're on promotion right now, or whatever. Some kind of like, all right, you need to take advantage of this. Or like during Thanksgiving around Black Friday, I was like, and we're having a Black Friday sale or whatever. So then they say, you can send it here. I have a PDF of the package options. I send it to them, and then, or email it to me. So I email it to them. And again, then 2 days, 3 days later, whatever works for you, I follow back up with them if I haven't heard from them. All right. So then that's where the follow-up piece comes into play. And again, I just talk to them like a human. Just like, hey, just wanted to see if that PDF opened up for you. If it didn't, let me know. I can try to send it a different way. What questions do you have for me? And so on. All right. So that's how I flow through a conversation of somebody that's interested. And what worked for me was to sit down, or to go with the first person that was interested and create those little blurbs. And then I just use that every time, and obviously tweak it depending on the person, if they have questions, if they have yada, yada, yada. But this makes it also super easy for me to just respond to messages instead of sitting and trying to think every single time, like, what to say. All right. So again, like I said, I'm going to tweak them a little bit just to try to, basically what I want to do is touch more on the accountability piece. Because especially now, all the gyms, all the blah, 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 whatever, like, you can join for $10. Okay, awesome. But what about accountability? And that's what makes us different than everything else, is our accountability, our groups, our coaching, our support, our community. And so in those messages, I just want to tweak them a little bit to talk more about that. And so on and so forth. But then that's where your follow-up system comes into play. And one thing I wanted to mention too, I was talking with Kevin about this the other day. I said, like, I don't even remember how we got on the topic, but I said, sometimes I think it was right after I'd posted the poll about which area of inviting you're struggling with the most. And I was like, sometimes I struggle with sharing what I shouldn't say I struggle with sharing what I do. I get nervous sharing with you guys what it is I do, because I think sometimes you look at what I do and you try it for a couple days, you try it for a week or one day or whatever, and it doesn't work. And so you automatically put up this mindset of, well, okay, it doesn't work for me, so I can't be successful. I can't do this. But what I want you to do is take what I'm telling you and these tools I'm sharing, and that conversation flow, and keep tweaking it until it works for you. Because everything I do on my power hour, everything I do every single day, I heard from another coach, and I just kept doing it their way and then tweaking it as I went until it worked for me. All right. So I, like, a lot of my foundation in the beginning came from Melanie Mitro. Like, I'm not Melanie Mitro and I can't be, but I took her systems and used them and tweaked them along the way until it fit for me. And same thing as now, like, I try to learn from a couple other different coaches, and I take what they do and then I tweak it for my situation, for what works for me, what makes sense in my brain, and so on. So I always get a little nervous, like, sharing, because I don't want you to compare what I'm doing and what you're doing and how it's not matching up, because you're not necessarily hopefully that makes sense, what I'm trying to get at, right? So this is like 4.5 years in the making of tweaking and going over it. you've got to give it more than just a couple days of trying to send out invites and have conversations going. It takes practice. It takes building up that muscle. One other thing too I wanted to mention is, like, it comes back to what you're posting, what you're sharing, and that value that you're adding, and emotionally connecting with the person that's interested before you ask them to make that financial investment. So by me saying, like, tell me about your goals, and then the ones that actually respond back with, like, sincere goals and sincere things they want to work with, that's somebody that I know would invest. And I know that's somebody that has serious goals that I can help them with and work with, and so on. So trying to add value and talking about, like, maybe they hate vegetables and they struggle, blah, blah. Okay, perfect. Like, that was me 4 years ago. Like, here's kind of how I got through that. And it's just having a conversation. It's just communicating and letting them know that you're a real human and that you're a real person who's in the trenches with them and going through those same struggles, and just making that emotional connection to help them feel like they know you and they trust you, and they go with you that way. Okay, so that was it. That was the conversation. That was the flow I wanted to touch on. The other thing was a call that I listened to today. He kind of gave a breakdown of what he would recommend, like, addressing when you're talking about, like, our accountability groups and the products and the challenge packs and the programs and so on. But kind of the points to touch on, again, he said community. Like, that's something that we offer that nobody else does, is that sense of community. And so really touching on that and talking about it in a way that's true, and in a way that, like, for me, I always tell that even my current customers, challengers, whatever, I was like, that was what saved me and got me hooked and got me committed and connected, was the group. So for me, that's a good talking point. But that's something too that to just talk about and to mention, because they can go anywhere and Google workouts and Google what should I eat for whatever, for meals. But that accountability piece, and you have to sell yourself too as the coach, and how you're going to help them and support them. Being in the trenches with them, I think all of us are at that point where we can say, like, that's something that we offer that makes you unique, is that you're in the trenches with them. You're getting through the programs and nailing nutrition and the mindset and the struggles and all of that. You're in there with them. And then the program, like, talking about, we have all the tools, we have all the programs, all the meal plans. Like, you don't have to think about it. You just have to do it, right? You just have to put in the work. And the accountability. And then the side piece is, oh, by the way, like, you're getting this in a private group, you're getting Shakeology, you're, kind of, you have to kind of sell yourself before they'll commit to the products. Because if I just came in and said, oh yeah, we're going to set you up with a 8-week workout program, 30 minutes from home, some superfoods, blah, 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 you'd be like, wow, okay, like, that's a lot of money. But if you sell yourself and the accountability, and just kind of listing off the things that actually matter and make a difference, and you sell them on that emotional aspect and on you and that community piece of it, because whether most people admit it or not, that's just all they want, right? Is to be a part of something, to be a part of a community. And I think that is something that we have and we have to offer. It's just a matter of saying it in the right way that people connect to it. All right. So I hope that helped. I'm gonna, as soon as this recording is uploaded, I'm gonna try and think of a follow-up question, or if you have a follow-up question, something that branches off of that conversation and that flow. But the biggest piece of advice I can tell you is that it's about them. And that's a hard transition to make, because when you're talking to somebody that's interested, we automatically go to, all right, 2 Success Club points, here we go. And I'm super guilty of it. But we have to look at that person as, how can I help you? And how can I get this life-changing product, program, group, accountability, system, community into your hands? And so what is it that they want, and how, and some people it's not for everybody, right? We know that. But kind of taking your emotional tie out of it and just really turning it around to them and saying, how can I help you? By asking them their goals, giving them the basics. And then when they have those objections or the things they struggle with, like, don't try to convince them. That doesn't work. Trying to convince them does not work. That's something to pocket, to talk about on your stories, to do a post about. But just continuing to try and emotionally connect with them and let them know you're there, you understand, like, this is what I have to offer. And just always keeping kind of those objections. And then the more times you go through a conversation, the more times you talk and you practice it, the stronger that muscle becomes. And it starts up here. It starts up here with your confidence, believing in yourself that what you have to offer is the best thing, right? And you have to know more, you have to practice it, you have to have that confidence in it in order to keep progressing, to get less no's, all that good jazz. Okay? All right. I hope that this was helpful. If you have questions after I post the recording, just share them. And then next week we will continue to branch off of this or go a different direction. But yeah, so have a great night, you guys. Thank you for hopping on, and we'll see you later.